Chapter 19. Soon the penguin chauffeur pulled up to Rosie's emporium and let his 2 passengers out of the ancient car. Vaggie grimaced in disgust at the gaudy store but reluctantly followed as Rosie pulled her inside by the hand. The store was larger than it looked. The store contained multiple racks with dresses from every era and an interior that matched the design of the store's exterior. "Hello, ladies," Rosie said to the 2 lady demons working behind the counter. "I'm helping Alastor's fiancée out with her shopping. I hope that's all right." After giving a few nods of affirmation, the ladies went back to their work, leaving Rosie to begin looking through the dresses from Alastor's era, humming a merry show tune while Vaggie was standing behind her in absolute boredom. "So, how long are we going to be here?" Vaggie asked. "Until we have all that we need, dear," Rosie replied. Vaggie realized she could get back to Angel faster if she cooperated, so she walked around and started picking out dresses for herself from Alastor's time period. After choosing a considerable number of outfits, Vaggie brought the dresses to Rosie, who took the dresses from her and began inspecting them. "So, you do have a sense of style," Rosie said with her mockingly sweet voice. "That is remarkable considering your background." Vaggie resisted the urge to chew out Rosie for her racism and classism and looked away. Her eyes settled on some dresses from more modern times. After checking behind her to make sure that Rosie was occupied, Vaggie walked over to the dresses and began checking them out as if she were shopping with Charlie. These dresses were more her taste, but she knew Rosie and Alastor would never let her have them. Nevertheless, Vaggie decided she didn't care. She took a chance and started looking through the newer dresses on the rack. There were many beautiful dresses that ranged from sundresses, maxi dresses, prairie-style dresses, and sweater dresses. Vaggie picked a sundress up and held it up in front of her reflection in a mirror. Unfortunately, that was when Rosie noticed what she was doing. "Vaggie!" Rosie shrieked, jarring Vaggie immediately out of her reverie. "What on earth are you holding?" "A dress I actually like," Vaggie retorted, turning towards her overseer and holding the dress defensively. "Oh, goodness. No," Rosie chided. "The dress is not an option for you, young lady." "But I'm the bride, right?" Vaggie snapped back, feeling the anger inside her rising up. "I should get something that I want." "Well, unfortunately, Alastor has a strict dress code for you," Rosie said, grabbing one end of the dress in an attempt to snatch it away. "Now give me the dress." "Dress code?" Vaggie asked incredulously, pulling the other end of the dress towards her. "Alastor's not my fucking boss." "No, he isn't," Rosie replied, pulling the dress towards her. "He is your future husband." "Exactly. Not my boss," Vaggie yelled angrily, pulling on the dress. "Ladies, please." A demoness with pale skin and dark green hair clad in black yelled as she ran up to the fighting ladies from behind the counter. "You're at the dress." She distracted Rosie just long enough for Vaggie to pull the dress away from Rosie. "I'd like to buy this," Vaggie said to the sales associate. "With what money?" Rosie asked with a cruel smirk. Vaggie's face fell as she realized Rosie was right. Her funds were now out of her reach. Alastor controlled her finances and she had no choice in the matter. Vaggie reluctantly handed the dress over to the sales associate and watched her walk away as angry tears blinded her vision. Rosie patronizingly placed her hand on Vaggie's shoulder and said, "There, that wasn't so hard. Was it? Now, let's go try on these dresses. If we have time today, we could shop for maternity dresses when we're done. You'll need them for those 8 children." "Excuse me?" Vaggie replied incredulously. "Then again, I suppose we could just alter the dresses you have now once you are with child," Rosie rambled. "Absolutely not," Vaggie snapped. "I'm not carrying his kids." "We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, dear," Rosie replied with a condescending smile. Vaggie scowled and turned away from Rosie. "Right then," Rosie said, taking Vaggie's arm. "Let's take you to the dressing room to try on your new dresses." Vaggie remained defiantly silent as Rosie escorted her into the dressing room. "Oh, I'm so excited," Rosie gushed. "We'll make you look just beautiful. You'll see." Vaggie simply groaned in response as Rosie hung the 1920s and 1930s dresses that Vaggie had picked out on a rack in the large, pink, private curtain dressing room where she had brought her. "Alrighty," Rosie said, picking out a dark blue dotted, long-sleeved day dress with a bow tied on the side of the collar from the bunch. "Let's see which of these dresses fits you the best." "Hopefully none of them," Vaggie retorted. "Oh, Vaggie, it's not fitting for a maiden to be so grumpy," Rosie said, walking over with the dress. "Especially not one about to be married." "I don't care," Vaggie retorted, trying to hold her temper. "Nah, Rosie chided. "That's not the right attitude, young maiden." "Oh, fuck off," Vaggie snarled. "Vaggie, I must ask you to simmer down or there will be consequences," Rosie reminded her with a condescending smile. Reluctantly, Vaggie took a deep breath and said, "Fine." "Good. Now, let's take off your dress." "What? No. Not with you watching." "It's all right, dearie. We're both ladies." Vaggie tensed up nervously as Rosie walked up behind her with the new dress draped over her arm and unzipped her dress from behind. "Oh, Vaggie, don't be so silly," Rosie said as she pulled down the other dress and gently pushed Vaggie forward, causing her to stumble over the garment on the floor so she could pick up the old dress. "Now, arms up." Vaggie groaned sadly as she did what she was told. In a minute, Vaggie was in the dress. She reluctantly had to admit that it didn't look bad on her, but she refused to give Rosie the satisfaction of a smile. Rosie stepped back, looked at her assisting penguin familiar, and asked, "Mildred, what do you think?" The small penguin clapped her flippers and cawed in an excited tone. "I think the same," Rosie said with a smile. "What do you think, Vaggie?" "It's okay I suppose," Vaggie said unemotionally. "Can we move on to the other dresses?" "Of course," Rosie said merrily, picking up a long, short-sleeved blue dress. "We have many more dresses for you to try on before the day is through." Vaggie sighed in defeat, looking at the pile of dresses on the chair, only a few of which she actually liked. She didn't want to be there, but for Angel's sake, she complied. Soon, all the dresses had been tried on and Rosie had selected the best ones for Vaggie, who was standing there in a black and white flapper day frock and matching black hat. "So, are we done?" Vaggie asked. "Do we go home now?" "Oh, no, Vaggie," Rosie replied. "Now, we have to pick out party dresses." Vaggie's face fell in absolute disappointment and she sighed in frustration. "Oh, Vaggie, don't you want to look pretty for the auction? Why the long face?" Rosie asked disapprovingly. "You're the guest of honor after all." "To be honest, I'd rather attend my own funeral," Vaggie said bluntly. Rosie frowned and asked, "Vaggie, why should you have such an attitude?" "I'm being forced to attend this party against my will," Vaggie said grumpily, trying to hide as much of her anger as possible. "Oh, quit acting so spoiled," Rosie said, picking up Vaggie's dresses so that she could carry them up front. "Spoiled?" Vaggie asked, beginning to lose her temper. "You think I'm spoiled? Well, you are acting like a spoiled child right now," Rosie goaded. "Dios mio," Vaggie finally snapped. "Speak for yourself. You're forcing a woman who's already in a relationship to get married to a psychotic kingpin." "Oh, please, you could have done much better than Princess Charlie." "Hold on. What's wrong with Charlie? Do I really need to go into detail? Besides, you're the granddaughter of a high priest while she's the daughter of the devil himself. You belong in different worlds. She probably has dozens of suitors among her social class that would suit her just fine. You're better off with Alastor." "No, I'm not. Charlie loves me for who I am." "Sure, she does. I know she does, and that's more than I could ever say for your worthless, soulless, Despicable bastard of a best friend. Vaggie spat back. Is that so? Rosie said in a disapproving tone that let Vaggie knew she had effed up big time. But unable to hold herself back, Vaggie continued the rant. Yes, it's the truth and you know it. I know you don't care what I think, so I don't care what you think either. I see, Rosie said with a smug and devious smile. I wonder what Alastor will think of this outburst. Vaggie simply scoffed and replied, Alastor already knows I hate him. What difference would it make? It will make a difference for Angel, Rosie replied with a sadistic smile. Vaggie's face fell in shock. Her big eyes grew wider in horror. No. Vaggie managed to get out. I didn't do anything. Yes, you did, Rosie said, gripping Vaggie's wrist tightly and dragging her to the counter behind her. You had your chance to get rid of that attitude of yours and now your behavior is going to cause Angel to be punished. No, please. Vaggie yelled, pulling back against Vaggie's grip. Don't make this any worse than it is, Rosie said, ignoring Vaggie's thrashing. No. Vaggie yelled. I will not let you hurt Angel. Then, without another word, she bit Rosie, causing her to let her go and dashed for the door. Unfortunately, that was when Vaggie heard a snap and felt her limbs get wrapped tightly against her body before falling to the floor. She looked up in horror to discover she had been literally mummified alive in ribbons with a bow over her mouth to gag her. Rosie walked over to her as the moth demon thrashed around helplessly like a trapped animal, picked up the hat that had fallen from Vaggie's head, and sighed wearily before turning to her penguin familiar and saying, Mildred, will you be a dear and take Vaggie back to the car while I pay for these dresses? Mildred cawed and carried Vaggie back to the car while the latter struggled fiercely.
I'm glad you enjoyed that video/gameplay. Just remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Until next time, goodbye!